have seen so many leaders, and I think for me personally, if I had known how hard I was working, I didn't know when I was doing that leadership thing how hard I was working, but going by how burnout I was and how I crashed at the end of the day, suddenly I must have been working very hard. Do you know what are some of the early, or rather very small signs of burnout that leaders usually miss in themselves or maybe in their teams? We can talk about. Let's gear our conversation today in two parts, so like leaders and then in their teams. So like signs of burnout, early burnout, and leaders themselves or in their teams.
I've worked with many leaders and teams. They could be high performing, but I think early signs would be certainly the physical sign. Perhaps you feeling exhausted. You feel you couldn't come up for air. The other sign would be disengagement. I work with teams. There's a lot of grumbling on the ground. Every time I engage with them, first thing is the negative. They're complaining. There's a lot of unhappiness and disengagement. I would say also withdrawal. People would say, oh, I don't care anymore. I don't want to engage. Oh, I keep quiet. Show up with a good energy. And sometimes it could be, people getting short temper. People maybe being short in a team meeting, defensive. That's also an early signs. Or the other way, which people feel withdrawal, passive aggressiveness, or sometimes is missing deadline, or, procrastinating. When I get burnout, I procrastinate. So I think those are probably some signs of burnout.
Would you say that these signs are universal across whether you're a leader or a team member?
Yeah, I think it could manifest coming out in so many different ways, and I think burnout is a very generic term. Burnout, if it's like, for example, when you make a toast, how much you want burn for you might be different than me, right? Your tolerant levels, right, or your preference, very different. So we kind of have to find out the root cause of the burnout, right? Sometimes for people, if people like routine, they like predictability, too much work is a source of burnout. Sometimes people have a bad boss. They don't get along with their bosses. Sometimes they don't get along with their colleagues. Sometimes there's a lot of gossiping, there's politics in the company. And some people maybe have imposter syndrome. They get newly promoted. They really, maybe to a manager, they're struggling managing a team, managing people. A lot of time is undefined roles and responsibilities. Nowadays, I work with a lot of teams. They're shrinking their workforce. They used to have a larger team, but because of resources or cutting back, they used to have 20 people on the team. Now they have 5. So, someone have to absorb the job. Someone has to do the job. This job, the volumes is still the same. So people are taking on additional load. And when the roles and responsibilities are not defined clearly, maybe tell your boss that I couldn't do the job because you may be seen as incompetence. They may cause you to have burnout.